In conclusion, the rest of the world will see two great nations working together with strong leadership. In conclusion, as my colleagues behind me, strong local leadership for the well-being of her population to answer their needs in the process. But every day is a new path that makes both countries together, like we all say, God bless North America, because together we can achieve many things. We're now open for questions. Let's see.
I'm James. Right over here.
I'm Mona from for a mayor of Holland. I think because maybe they have the White House is wrong. So can you tell us more about this meeting? And also, was it a good idea for the Alliance to go there, even though Canadian mayor were not welcome? It's possible in French also, but
unfortunately, I have a goal to learn. I mean that sincerely. I have a goal to learn French, or at least working French by next year. Because if there's one thing I've learned is to be involved in this organization, I need to be able to speak the language of the key people in it. You know. And I'm sorry, I caught most of your question, but who was it? Who went, or what was the last part?
Maybe mayors from Canada were not invited. So was it a good idea to go there in the White House, even though a large part of the Alliance was not present, was not welcome?
Yes, and so the circumstance that happened there is that we were informed by the White House, I believe within less than 48 hours, that they were not going to be able to process the Canadian mayors. That's what we were told, and that's the only information we have, as to that matter. The decision was made for myself and two other American mayors who are here as well, to go. And before we went, we sat down with all the Canadian mayors, and the big thing I asked, and I think you guys can all say this, is what do you need me to say there for you? What questions do you want me to ask? What can we, bring back? How do we want to approach this? The question is, what was it appropriate? I believe that having the opportunity for an organization like the Great Lakes Cities Initiative to be able to meet with anyone in the administration, I believe is a positive opportunity for the organization to get in and get a message planted. Unfortunately, we were not able this year to get the message planted by all of us. My hope is that next year we go back to how it's been in previous years where we were all able to get in. I hope that makes sense.
But on the meeting itself, thank you.
So we met with an administration official and a new administration official, and a lot of the meeting was us explaining the importance of the Great Lakes, what the water means to all of our cities. We spoke about the trade situation and how we are concerned that it impacts all of us because our region is one very united economy. So any impact on one country impacts the other, but in particular in the Great Lakes. We also spoke on the importance of passing and the Great Lakes, Restoration Act, initiative. It's a long bill. We spoke about the importance of having it renewed by the year 2026, getting that done this year. It's something that we spent a lot of time explaining what goes into it and the over 8,000 projects that it has helped get through. We also spoke just a very good deal about the importance of having a stronger economy on the Great Lakes, taking advantage of the fact that we're no longer the Rust Belt, we are the Opportunity Belt. And we want to make sure that our local governments are involved in the way that we're reshaping like regulation and incentives out on the lake. I'll also add that we advocated for the recreation of what was called the water sub-cabinet, which is something that was created at the tail end of the previous Trump administration. For whatever reason, didn't get continued into the next one, and we're very much hoping for it to come back. I'll give you a very good example from this meeting, though. One of the things we were asked immediately is there already a Canadian equivalent of that? And we said, well, we don't know right now because there's no Canadian mayors with us, but as soon as we can get back to them, we can get back to you. There is a Canadian equivalent of the water sub-cabinet. I was very excited to hear that. So if the new people in the administration, even though the previous Trump administration had created such a sub-cabinet, if they need any help on how to do it, I'm sure that our Canadian counterparts can assist them on that. So very thankful to know that as well.
Further questions right over here?
for Monday.
That's my whiplash going again right now.
Like your gap at that. That you'll be going ahead with this deal and tariff next. So if you could speak a bit about obviously how that's going to impact Hamilton, how worried are you and the dairy and lumber as well?
Thanks, Megan. I really appreciate that. And of course, Hamilton has been known as a steel city for a very long time. We continue to have both primary steel making as well as secondary processing. And we have really significantly growing advanced manufacturing that happens within that industry as well. The impact for us will be $1 billion probably out of our economy. Probably 20,000 workers, if not more, will be impacted. As I said in my remarks, many of the things that we make in Hamilton, and we're a city that makes things, and we always have been, come across the border and back and forth and back and forth. And so we know that that happens. I think people understand that happens in auto. It happens in steel as well. So the impacts will be wide ranging. And I've had a roundtable meeting with some of the manufacturers and steelmakers in the city already. I did that on Monday prior to coming here, and they're concerned. It's the immediate impacts, yes, but the longer these things last, the more untractable it becomes, right? The relationships break down. They talked about the fact that their relationships with the companies that they supply are strong. The last time there was a disruption like this, some of those relationships fractured, and it takes a long time to rebuild them once again. And so this is going to happen across both of our economies. I'll let somebody from perhaps Quebec talk about the dairy piece, but thanks for the question, Megan.
Chaque jour amène son lot d'informations nouvelles. Alors demain, ça va être quoi? Ça va être les bâtons de hockey, parce qu'on est meilleur au hockey. Ça va être après-demain la gentille.
Everyone, we are going to take another 2-minute break here during this question and answer period for the U.S. mayors and Canadian mayors in the Great Lakes region, talking about trade and tariff war possibilities. You are watching live now from Fox. We'll be back in just 2. Back to Live Now from Fox. Friday edition continues to roll on right now. We still have this live feed of this news conference with Canadian and U.S. mayors talking about trade. Let's listen in on Live Now.
What is actually what we're talking about? And just by speaking up, okay, milk is not good, what to do is That's not gonna solve anything. We can allow the responsibility departments to negotiate, and we look at the plan. What do we mean by sharing free borders with milk? How do we increase our borders? Because North America right now, in the future years, if I had a glass vision, it would allow us to be self-sufficient in both borders. How? By sharing our common goals, sharing our farming capacity, sharing our food. This is the only way we're going to survive. Thank you.
Two more questions. Yeah.
We are not able to speak this time who we met with, just because of the nature how the meeting was set up, and I apologize that I can't say it this time. That's all I can say, unfortunately. So for us right now, it's a matter of relationship building with the new administration. And I know that this might not be what people want to hear, because of course there's hopefully people in other positions of authority, both on the United States and on the Canadian side, working to resolve this. But for us as an advocacy organization for the municipalities in both countries, we're approaching this, and we approached it this afternoon with building the relationship with a new administration and really introducing our organization, so that each time that we come back, throughout the year with the amazing staff that we have, and each Great Lakes Day, it's just an amazing coincidence that Great Lakes Day was this week while all these matters were going on. The goal is that to be able to build that relationship that hopefully turns into a working relationship. Even when you disagree with someone, if they're happy to see you, you have the ability to make progress. And what I can say is that I think that this meeting began that process of building a relationship. As I said, we all met with the Canadian mayors before we went into this White House meeting. And the big thing that I discussed is, what are the things you guys want us to bring up? And the big thing is, are the things that you want us to take back from the meeting? What questions can I ask? Really for us, what we're trying to figure out right now, because to put it as simply as I can, if you poll each of us about our opinion on trade policy for either country, I'm sure you get all sorts of a spectrum of views on that. What we all understand, we all agree, is that there's something untoward about a blanket 25% tariff, especially when the goal is not clear. And so the big thing that we're trying to understand, we're trying to create a relationship to help understand better, is what's the real goal that's trying to be achieved with this? I don't have the answer. If I had the answer, I'd tell you, and I'm sure I'd be all over the news about how we fix this. But for this organization, and if I can also say, having been involved in this organization prior to this year, it's growing, and it's an organization that I think is going to be increasingly important in helping to connect Canadian, U.S., the Great Lakes, and advocate for the needs in both countries. So I'm excited for that. And so I know I'm not giving a perfect answer to your question, but I just want to assure you that this is the beginning of what I think is a very important, very strategic new way forward for us to advocate for both the United States and the governments of Canada. I don't know how to put it. If that happens, it's not because of anything I said today, other than, or anything that Eddie or Sean said, other than the fact that we are trying to build such a good relationship that officials in this administration are aware that there are people on both sides of the Great Lakes who want to see things improved much better than they are right now.
Well, as we've said, in a tariff war, there is no winners. Mount Vernon, fortunately, is not supplied directly by Ontario, But in the lower parts of New York, in the southern parts of New York, we're already facing a 15 to 20% increase in electricity and electricity delivery costs. And so when you're looking at northern New York, that definitely is supplied by Ontario. That is a big hit in our state. No one can live without electricity. There's not an immediate plan. And so it is a serious issue. And I've had an opportunity to speak to our governor's office this morning. And we're hoping, like other things, this is something that can be delayed. But that's a conversation that has to happen at the national levels. And we're not at that level, but we are paying close attention to it. Our governor is paying close attention to it as well. And those conversations will continue.
So I would just say that my name is Marcus Muhammad, Mayor of the City of Benton Harbor, Michigan. Although there was a White House meeting, which is the executive branch, this group and this body met with many of the legislators, which make up the legislative branch. Senator Gary Peters, Senator Alyssa Slotkin, Senator Schumer, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Representative Bill Heisinger, Representative Rashida Tlaib, and many others. And the information sharing that took place, I think, is where the real power is. Because one thing we do know that the country does not operate just on the executive branch. It's checks and balances, and the legislative branch will have a say in this as well. Because at the end of the day, it's connecting people, and they hear from the people. And I think that once this continues to move forward, I think hopefully cooler heads will prevail and the tension will subside. But your question with Michigan? Right now, I'm optimistic, and at the same time, I'm realistic. I am speaking and working with Governor Whitmer. She will be in Benton Harbor on Monday. So I'll be able to brief her on the action that we took here. But I think that things will subside. But what we don't want, and one of the reasons why we came together, you mentioned dairy, and they say milk once sour, never sweet again. So we don't want to sour the relations. We want to show our unity at the bottom, and hopefully that diplomacy will trickle up to the top.
All right, I want to thank everybody for your attention today. I thank everybody for being a part of our press conference. I want to thank the Great Lakes St. Lawrence City's initiative staff for setting things up, and to my fellow colleagues, mayors, and
all right, so that conference coming to an end, as well as the question and answer period, talking a lot, of course, on tariff wars and what it would mean to not only U.S. mayors, but also Canadian mayors as well and their districts. All right, let's continue on. I'm live now from Fox. Keep you out in Washington, D.C. for more of the Stand Up for Science rally that is happening right now on the National Mall.
Once again, I'm taking the privilege of introducing somebody who's been very special in my experience at the NIH as the director for 12 years, and before that at the Genome Project. A wonderful former congressman from the state of Michigan, who was the main author, along with his colleague, Diana DeGette, of the 21st Century Cures Bill, which many people consider the most significant legislation of this millennium when it came to supporting medical research. Whoa. Never mind. So please welcome Congressman Fred Upton.
You know, it was some 40 years ago that I worked at the White House at the Office of Management and Budget, and I learned a lesson there, that it was the budget that drove the policy and not the policy driving the budget, and I thought that was wrong. So I ran for office, and I won. I was elected and re-elected for 36 years in the House. and bipartisanship was my guiding light, whether I served in the majority or the minority. And in the 90s, Speaker Gingrich tapped me to be the Republican lead to double the money for the NIH. My partner was John McCain and Henry Waxman and Paul Wellstone as Democrats in the House and the Senate, and we won. We got it done. You know, today there's about 10,000 different diseases, and we have cures for so far few. We've all got family members and know so many others with serious life-threatening diseases that impact our families and communities, and it breaks our hearts to see that suffering. Diana.
Former Congressman Fred Upton speaking right now at this science rally. We'll get you back out there, but we got to take our final break here of the hour. We will be right back with much more coming up next on Live Now from Fox. Here for you on Live Down from Fox. Thanks again for joining us. As always, I'm your host, Mike Page, taking you now back out to Washington, D.C. This is a live rally it's called Stand Up for Science. Let's continue to listen in right now on Live Down from Fox.
The University Irving Medical Center summed it this way. Look in your medicine cabinet. Do you see a medication for treating a chronic illness or preventing disease? Chances are you can thank the NIH for that. But she's not done. Think about someone who has survived cancer. If not for the NIH, that person might not be with us. Or consider the future of a friend or family member with Alzheimer's disease, a heart condition, or mental illness. Where will we find the treatments to alleviate their sufferings? The answer almost certainly involves the NIH. My friends, I thank you. Thank you for your hard work and courage to do the right thing by choosing this career. We cannot afford to let you go and lose the opportunity that for cures that impact all of us across the earth. Francis said a little while ago, yes, we are the envy of the world. First, do no harm. I want to add, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. God bless you all. Okay, yeah. All right, y'all. We got one more speaker for this block before we get into some music. I heard some NIH chants over there. Can we get that going again? NIH. 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 All right, y'all. It is my pleasure to introduce Senator Christopher Van Hollen. Currently the senior U.S. Senator from Maryland, a seat he has held since 2017, a member of the Democratic Party. He previously served as a U.S. Representative for Maryland's 8th Congressional District from 2003 to 2017, and as a Maryland State Senator from 1995 to 2003. Please join me in welcoming Senator Van Hollen.
And I can already taste the pain, the sudden fear that grips and shakes you when you face the truth.
Are we all here to defend science? Because we know that when you defend science, you are defending the health and welfare of the American people. Isn't that right? Now, I am just thrilled to be here with so many mad scientists. And you should be mad, and you should be angry, and everybody in America should be mad and angry about what we are witnessing right now in our country, including the illegal and reckless attacks on science by Elon Musk and the Trump administration. Because those illegal attacks are literally putting people's lives at risk around the country. Are we going to let that happen? Are we going to shut down the illegal Musk operation?
We're watching live now from Fox, everyone. Live look there. This is the last speaker there, Senator Van Hollen, before they go to a little music portion right now at this Stand Up for Science rally. But I do want to take you now from an out of this world look as we take you up to the ISS for a ceremony that will be changing hands of handing over command at the ISS. Let's listen in.
Next Commander, Alexei, thank you for your za druzhba, za komandirovka, and I promise you we are actively trying to find the passage back to the place we were before. And with that, I will give you the klutch.
Сегодня 7 марта 2025 года. Я, космонавт Роскосмоса Алексей Овчинин, принимаю командование Международной космической станции от Саниты Уильямс. Сегодня, вдобавок ко всему, очень знаменательный день. Сегодня исполняется 65 лет со дня образования российского отряда космонавтов. Очень скоро вы вернетесь на Землю, вернетесь домой. Было очень здорово летать, работать, отдыхать вместе. Я хочу пожелать вам удачи, штатного спуска, мягкой посадки и всего-всего самого наилучшего. Не переживайте, вы оставляете станцию в надежных руках. Мы будем скучать по вас. Very soon you will leave station. It was great flying, walking, relaxing together. I wish you good luck, nominal descent, soft landing, and all the best. Don't worry, you are leaving station in good hands. We will miss you.
Okay, thank you for everybody for joining us, and we have cake to celebrate the situation. We are always ready.
All right, a moment that was as astronaut Williams getting ready to come back to Earth after being stuck in space for 8 months, getting in the reins once again over command of the ISS as she prepares for that journey back home. So we took that event for you live right here on Live Now from Fox. Again, we always have you covered worldwide right now, and we do want to take you out to another rally that is happening on about protecting science. Let's listen in on Live Now.
Click on the QR code that my lovely wife Jess has right here, or was on the call to action sheet. And brilliant. And strong. Or go to indivisiblechicago.com to continue taking action. Indivisiblechicago.com. Who here has called their elected officials today? That's huge. Who here has not called their elected officials today? That's okay. Do it. Go to 5calls.org and call your elected officials and tell them you support the NIH, you support the NSF, you support NASA. You support all of the amazing scientific organizations that our government funds and our taxpayers and all Americans support. Many and most Americans support. Someday it'll be all Americans. Let's see. Oh, yeah. It's funny, 5calls.org has 3 numbers to call because President Trump no longer has a number that you can call. This is an activity. I want everyone to get out their phones. Everyone get out your phones. Go to 5calls.org. I want to hear a hubbub. I want to hear a hullabaloo. I'm going to send my message to President Trump through this microphone since, unfortunately, he doesn't have a number. You do your calling while I'm doing my calling. President Trump, thank you for listening to my message. I'm an American and I'm a patriot and I support scientific research. We need to make sure that scientific research is independent, and I want you to end censorship and political interference in science. I want you to secure and expand public funding. And I want you to defend diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in science. Science needs to look like America. Thank you for listening. Lastly, I want to tell you what another speaker said before. Talk to your friends, talk to your coworkers. It's you who are the messenger. It's you who are the organizer. And together, by sharing our vision, by saying what we want for the future, we can make that future happen. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for standing up for science.
From everyone on the organizing committee at Stand Up for Science, I want to thank you all for being out politics is under attack. What did we do? Stand up, fight back. Yes. Woo! Yeah. Okay, everybody, we've got more chants here. We're gonna do a few more, and then if anybody needs to go in and get dry, that's okay. Human need, not corporate greed. 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 Okay, here's a nerdy one. 3.14, fund science, not war. 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 Someone's actually doing the whole number.
So if you want to interview any of the speakers, we have a few right here.
Wait for the noise to die down.
Into the streets. Out of the lab. Into the streets. Out of the lab. Into the streets. Out of the lab.
Charlie Woodhouse, Channel 5. So you have to.
Right, that was the event out of Chicago for that Stand Up for Science rally, similar to what we see out in Washington, D.C. Live look right there. We'll take a 2-minute break. We'll be back in just moments. We're back here for you on Live Now from Fox. Thanks again for joining us always. Friday edition continues to roll on. I'm your host, Mike Pace. Great to be with you. Let's show you just a little bit some of the remarks from President Trump earlier today, making a lot of news, talking about tariffs, talking about the war in Ukraine, and so much more. Let's listen in on Live Now.
I did fantastically well, best numbers ever by a Republican, and I have a lot of respect for those people. But Sean Fain, who I don't know, but wasn't a supporter, although the auto workers were big supporters. I watched him last night, and he said Donald Trump is absolutely right on tariffs. He said what he's doing on tariffs is an incredible thing, and it's about time somebody had the guts to do it. because we're going to save auto manufacturing. And I said to people when I was campaigning, you're going to have so many auto jobs, you're not going to believe what's going to happen. We're going to load up Michigan. I won the state of Michigan, as you know. And part of the reason I won it was I got a lot of auto workers that voted for me, Detroit, etc. But I think people are going to be very surprised. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned in your remarks chips manufacturing, how a significant percentage is now in Taiwan. You also mentioned it in your address to Congress, and you called on Congress to overturn the CHIPS Act, which had bipartisan support in the last Congress. Why would you like to see this particular law overturned?
Because it's hundreds of billions of dollars and it's just a waste of money. Now, some people have already taken the money and used it. Actually, it's very hard to qualify because they go by race, they go by gender, they go by all sorts of things. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You won't be able to find those people. So I don't even think anybody can qualify. They have so many different categories. In order to qualify, you have to have so many of a certain race, a certain gender, a certain this, a certain, and I don't think they can qualify, but if they take the money, they better qualify because they'll be watching them. But it's a tremendous waste of money. I didn't give the greatest chip company in the world, one of the greatest companies, I didn't give them 10 cents. They came here because of tariffs, because they didn't want to pay the tariffs. And they also came here because they like the results of the election, because they know that I'm very pro-business and pro-jobs. I mean, I'm pro-business, not for business sake. I'm pro-business because of jobs, because business is producing the jobs. Okay.
Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
You know, I believe him. I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine, and I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week, early. And we're talking, I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. You can't do that.
Mr. President.
We're trying to help them. And Ukraine has to get on the ball and get a job done. Michael, could you come up here? I see Michael back there. Yeah, good, I'm glad. He's traveling all over the world. I just saw him come in the door. Could you give a little definition of what's going on, please?
Sure. Well, the president has been crystal clear, and he's been clear to all sides. The fighting has to stop. Both sides need to get to the table. We had a good engagement. Both leaders have said only President Trump could do so, and only he has been able to do so. We had an initial engagement with the Russians. The Ukrainians had a great opportunity to bind our economies together through that mineral deal. Unfortunately, that didn't go so well, but we think we're going to get things back on track. Secretary Rubio, myself and Ukrainian delegation will be meeting in Saudi Arabia next week to get these talks back on track, get a ceasefire in place, and drive peace home under President Trump's leadership.
I think both parties want to settle. I think if I wasn't president, this war would have had no chance of settlement, zero chance. But I think we're going to get it settled and stopped. We got to stop. They're losing on average 2,000 soldiers a week. That's a lot of soldiers. Do you agree, Peter?
It's a lot of soldiers on both sides, I agree. Do you, Mr. President, think that Vladimir Putin is taking advantage of the U.S. pause right now on intelligence and military aid to Ukraine?
No, I actually think he's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them. And I think probably anybody in that position would be doing that right now. He wants to get it ended, and I think Ukraine wants to get it ended, but I don't see, it's crazy. They're taking tremendous punishment. I don't quite get it, but I suspect, Michael, he probably wants to get it ended.
He does, Mr. President. The Russians are taking incredible losses on the front. As the president has said, this is a meat grinder of people, of material, of national treasure, and no one else has any solutions except to let this war continue forever. But I'll add, the president has had multiple conversations and a visit from President Macron of France, Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom. We have the NATO Secretary General coming next week. We have this meeting with the Ukrainians. We've had it with the Russians. All of this in the president's first month and his leadership. We will engage in the shuttle diplomacy, and we will continue to use his leadership and what leverage we have to get both sides of the peace table. It's not going to be easy, but President Trump.
This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen. So a lot of other things shouldn't have happened too. We shouldn't have 21 million people pouring into our country through open borders, many of whom are criminals, very bad criminals, including murderers, thousands of murderers. Many killed, far more than one person, and they're roaming our streets. But Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are doing an incredible job, and we're getting them out of here. And we'll get them out. We'll get them all out. But all these things shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have inflation. We shouldn't have had this horrible inflation where the prices have gone up. Look at eggs. So we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job.
President, in regards to the pause on military assistance to Ukraine, you put out on your social media post today that Russia is pounding Ukraine.
That's right.
Why not provide Ukraine with air defenses? And what happens, Mr. President, when Ukraine runs out of?
Well, because good question. Because I have to know that they want to settle. I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death. More important than anything else. Secondarily, way down the line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us. And, you know, I watched over the last week or so what's going on in Europe. This thing could end up in World War III if we don't get it settled. This could really end up in a World War III. We got to get it settled.
So on Iran, how confident are you that the Iranians will negotiate with you? And is Israel on board with this outrage?
Yeah, I saw the hostages the other day. They came in, people that were not young, some young and some older, much older. And they gave, it was hard for them to do it actually. They gave statements as to what happened. I was asking, what happened? How was it? I said, did you see anybody in there that was kind, like out of the hundreds of people that you were seeing, Hamas? Did some of them wink at you and say, don't worry, you're going to be okay, or give you a piece of bread, or no? I said, were there any people that were like kind? I was shocked. The answer was nobody. There was nobody, just the opposite. They'd be slapped and punched. One man broke his ribs. He couldn't breathe for a month. It was brutal. I was so surprised. Could you think there'd be a couple of people that would be kind, that would say, you're going to be okay, but they had none of that. It's pretty amazing. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. President.
He's a kind person.
Well, according to the...
Although not to Zelensky, he wasn't. But to Trump, he's been good. Go ahead, Brian.
Nice tie, by the way. Look, we coordinated. Two questions. One on peace. Why don't you think any other European countries are offering a peace deal? It seems like no one's come to the table for peace except for you.
Yeah. It's a very good question. Sometimes questions aren't answerable. They're in a very unusual position. They don't know how to end the war. I think I do know how to end the war. Despite the Russia hoax, I've always had a good relationship with Putin. And, you know, he wants to end the war. He wants to end it. And I think he's going to be more generous than he has to be. And that's pretty good. That means a lot of good things. Because frankly, you could have made a great deal if this war never started, you could have made a great deal. I don't know that anything would have had to be given up. This was not a war that was going to start, Brian. And it didn't start. For 4 years, somebody said, well, how do we know that? Well, for 4 years, it didn't start. I used to speak to Vladimir about it. I used to speak to him about it at length. It was the apple of his eye, but there was no way he was going in. And he knew, there were going to be consequences. But it did start. I mean, think of what happened. Inflation, you have the war with Ukraine and Russia, that wouldn't have happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel, they had no money. Iran had no money. Iran was stone cold broke. and now they have a lot of money. And that's going to be the next thing you'll be talking about is Iran. What's going to happen with Iran? And there'll be some interesting days ahead. That's all I can tell you. You know, we're down to final strokes with Iran. That's going to be an interesting time. And we'll see what happens. But we're down to the final moments. We're at final moments. You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I think that I would have had a deal within 1 month after the rigged election of 2020. They were all set to make a deal. And then when I lost, I saw this person who's a stupid person, very stupid person. And they said, let's not make a deal. And they were right. He took the sanctions off. They became rich under Biden. They went from having no money to having $300 billion. All in a short period. It's oil. Oil builds up fast. It's a nice living if you have a nice oil well. And they do. They have a lot of nice oil wells, right? So anyway, so it's going to be a big thing. It's an interesting time in the history of the world, but we have a situation with Iran that something's going to happen very soon, very, very soon. You'll be talking about that pretty soon, I guess, and hopefully we can have a peace deal. You know, I'm not speaking out of strength or weakness. I'm just saying I'd rather see a peace deal than the other, but the other will solve the problem.
Mr. President, your allies are calling on you to pardon Derek Chauvin. Are you considering pardoning Derek Chauvin?
No, I haven't even heard about it. No.
Mr. President, on peace.
I haven't heard that.
In the first term, you may recall, I broke the news that you were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And the reason for that was the work that you led on the Abraham Accords. I spoke yesterday with a member of parliament, the Norwegian parliament, that nominated, and he said what the Nobel Committee is looking for from you, Mr. President, is security guarantees for Ukraine. Is that a possibility, Mr. President?
So before I even think about that, I want to settle the war, get it finished. Because if I'm not here, nobody's going to settle it. And President Macron has said that, and everybody said that, the prime ministers and presidents. We're pushing very hard. That's all I'm thinking about now. As far as the question about security later, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting it settled. We got to get them. We're losing 2,000 human beings every week. More than that, actually. 2,000 nice, young, although they're getting older because they're drafting much older now. In the case of one country, much older, because a lot of the young people have been killed. It's very sad, and I'd like to see if I could stop that. And I'd like to also see if we could stop making these massive payments from the United States. I mean, Biden gave away money like it was water, with no anything, got nothing for it. Europe did it in the form of a loan. They get their money back, we don't. So that's how we came up with the rare earth deal. But we started, you know, behind the 8 ball. He could have gone to Europe. He could have said, come on, you got to put up money with us. You got to put up money with us. But he never did that. They just kept handing money out because he was grossly incompetent. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, just wanted to play out some of those remarks by President Trump from inside of the Oval Office. We always got you covered on Live Now. We'll take another 2-minute break. Be back in moments. We are back here for you on Live Now from Fox. Thanks again for joining us worldwide, as always. Let's go back out to our live event that we have been featuring for you out in D.C., the Stand Up for Science rally. Let's listen in.
Papers include certain words like female. Over there, my friends, is the U.S. Capitol. To the other side, the side restricting access to scientific reports, scientific data and resources. We ask, what are you afraid of? What is it about the process of science, modern medicine, caring for our neighbors, or Women's History Month that you all find so scary? My friends, science is in the national interest. Censoring science is not. I encourage those on the other side to break ranks, become leaders.
All right, everyone, you are watching Live Now. We go from one live event to another, from D.C. out to St. Petersburg, Florida, where we are getting an update on an investigation of a missing teen. Let's listen in.
So as law enforcement continue to investigation, things could change at any moment. So here's the timeline how it first started. So yesterday afternoon, we had a witness that came in that said she wanted to provide us information on the missing juvenile from Gulfport. Based on the tips and investigation by the detective, we believe that 16-year-old Miranda Corsetti was contacted by 35-year-old Stephen Gress on a social media app. And I'm gonna stop there for one moment and just wanna remind all the parents out there, please, I'm begging you, please, make sure you know what your kids are doing on social media. And to the kids also, if someone is contacting you and are not a family member, please let your parents know. So again, we're talking about a 16-year-old that was contacted by a 35-year-old. On February the 14th, we know that Mr. Gress went to Miranda's home, picked her up, took her to his house, which is located at 2708 27th Avenue North. He took her to the house. She spent the day there. We know he took her back on the 24th. On the 15th of February, we know she went back to the house on her own. Now, on the 20th at the house, there was some type of dispute over some missing jewelry. So from the 20th to the 24th, she was beaten and tortured because they could not find this piece of jewelry. We know that sometime there, she was then killed. Mr. Gress placed her body in his car along with his domestic partner, Michelle Brandis, and they drove her to Largo. In Largo, the detectives found evidence that Miranda was dismembered at that location. They then placed her in a car and they drove her down to Ruskin, where they dumped her into a dumpster, and her body is somewhere possibly in a landfill somewhere in that county. Yesterday, we realized that Mr. Gress was already in custody for pointing a harpoon at his domestic partner and possession of drugs. He is still in county jail as we speak today. We are now looking for Michelle Brandis. The picture's to my left and to your right. Michelle, if you're out there, we're trying to tell you to turn yourself in because we will find you sooner or later. If anybody out there is trying to help Michelle, if we can, we will charge you with the charges we can charge you with. As of this point, Mr. Gress is being charged with kidnapping Miranda, and this is an active investigation. More charges are soon to follow. I want to thank the following agencies for helping us out: Gulfport, Largo, and Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, our state and federal partners. Again, this is a horrific crime. We are still investigating it. We want to ensure that we bring justice to Miranda. The investigators are looking at every piece of evidence that we can find. And again, I want to say, we want to hold all responsible parties accountable. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Hey, Chief, you were with his family, and you were with his family,
Both of her parents are deceased, and her grandmother at this time just not ready to talk to anyone.
Can you talk a little bit about the discrepancy between her leaving on the 14th and then you reporting missing on the 24th at the 10-day time window? Do you know who reported her missing and why that might have come up earlier?
Sure, I'll ask the chief.
Hi there, I'm Commander Mary Farron. I'm currently the acting chief of police for Gulfport. We are very familiar with Miranda. We know that she is a frequent runaway, and she has a history of mental health issues as well as drug abuse. The grandmother is her primary caregiver at this time, and she said that she normally comes home, so she doesn't report her missing every time she leaves. She just didn't come back in a timely manner this time.
Was it her grandmother that reported her missing then?
It was.
And any affiliation with local schools noticing that she was absent for 10 days?
No, Miranda is actually homeschooled.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any words again to kind of Michelle Francis and maybe watching this about this crime?
Yeah, we do want to talk to her because, again, she was present when they moved Miranda around, and we want to talk to her. And again, either she can come in and talk to us, or we will find her. So again, like you're saying, Michelle, if you're listening, or your friends, find your way to the police department and to her friends that think they're helping her. If we can make charges, we will make charges.
How do we know Michelle was there?
We have witnesses that says she was there. We have witnesses that said that they saw her along with the defendant, with the body being placed in the car.
She was home in Largo. What's the connection? Obviously, they left it from the Gulfport. That was Mr. Bress's residence to go to this home in Largo. Who lives there? What were they doing there?
That is Michelle's mother's home.
We know that her body may be in a landfill. Are you guys going to find her body?
We're going to do everything possible to bring Miranda home. Again, we know the body was placed into a dumpster, but we got to try to figure out which landfill did that dumpster go to.
Chief, can you talk about what lured Miranda to this couple and to this home, offering her something to come live with them? What was the nature of that relationship?
So the social media page they were on was a dating app. So we're assuming that they must have met on a date. She went there on the 14th. And then again, like I said, she came back around on the 15th.
Do you plan to file any additional charges against either of them related to sexual contact with a minor?
We're going to put every possible charge on everyone that was involved in this. And that's why, again, the defendant's already in jail on another charge. And again, I would reiterate to Michelle, come in. Anything else? So I want to turn it over to our Major Halstead. She's going to talk to you about a 17-year-old that we have missing here in St. Petersburg. Major Michelle. Major Halstead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Major Shannon Halstead with the department just over 24 years. I appreciate your time. I understand the difficulty in transitioning to that from that conversation right into another one, but we've had an important update in this case that we want to share with everyone. We've been investigating a missing runaway since March 1st. His name is Alistair Nasir. He was last seen in the 6500 block of the Bayou Grand Boulevard Northeast. The update that I want to share with you is that when we originally posted him on our social media page, we didn't have any reason to believe that he would be missing and endangered. As you know, we often have between 12 and 15 runaways at any given time. Last night at 2 a.m., we received additional information sharing with us that the family found a note that he had written prior to leaving the residence. So the content of the note has obviously caused us alarm, and that's why we have listed him as missing and endangered today. The other thing that's happened since we last put out the media alert is that detectives were able to find additional video of him traveling westbound on 62nd Avenue past Mangrove Bay Middle School. The reason why I'm sharing that with you is because the original video that you saw, he was wearing a blue backpack in that video. We know for a fact he dropped that backpack off at Canterbury School there on the north side of 62nd Avenue. In the video that we found earlier today, he now has a red backpack. So I just wish that as you're sharing the information, the latest update that we have is that same clothing description, same bicycle white cruiser description, but that he may have a red backpack. We, as far as resources that we've used to locate him, neighborhood canvases to include several different residents in Placido Bayou, where we followed a trail of technical data, reference a cell phone, obviously have examined computer. The family has been awesome in collaborating with us in reference to even working with a PI to try to get information out, both digital flyers, hard copy flyers. The other thing today, once we found that updated photo, is we have drones. Many of you probably realize there's a wooded area just south of the Canterbury campus. So, our concern is he in that wooded area somewhere? So we've been working on that this morning too. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
What was the note that was concerned?
That he had an intent to harm himself.
You mentioned he dropped the backpack off at a local school and he has another one. Is there any intention to do harm to not only himself but others?
No, ma'am, no, absolutely no indications of that. The backpack that he dropped off was dropped there strategically for a certain person. And we've talked with her and all of his friends. We've also talked with personnel at the school he attends, as well as doing, as part of the neighborhood canvas, we had a specific residence in Placido Bayou, and then talked with everyone in the surrounding houses to see if there's other teenagers that live close by. As you know, sometimes the digital evidence will give you an address, but it's not an exact location. So there's been a lot of neighborhood canvassing throughout that neighborhood, Ring doorbells, surveillance systems to see if we can find a better location.
Is there anything that you would say to Alistair about the people who are missing him and wanting him to come home?
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate that question. The family is obviously very concerned. He has, I believe there are 3 brothers in the family, and the middle brother actually came back from out of town to help with the search of this. So I think that speaks, the family is concerned. This is not something that this kid normally does. And it's important that we have everyone's help in trying to locate him. We did the initial interview of the friends and a girlfriend, and then went back and did secondary interviews just to make sure that they realized the resources that were being deployed and that everyone's level of concern was continuing to heighten, and to make sure that wasn't the case. So we don't believe that's the case. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. We are worldwide here for you, bringing you always top stories, headlines, all in the mix. There's some terrible stories coming out of St. Petersburg, Florida. That first one, they talked about the missing teen that was found dead and had her body chopped up there. Just terrible. And then another missing teen update coming right after that. All right, we will take a 2-minute break. Stay right here with us. More to come on Live Now from Fox. back worldwide. I'm live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks again for joining us. We have another live event that we want to go to. It's still stand up.
Summit that's coming up is how much the industry is embracing it. So, the interesting thing about the summit that's coming up is how much the industry is embracing it. And it's the hottest ticket in town in some ways because everyone has something to say around it right now.
And there's been one thing about regulation or how you approach that, but there's also about how the government itself is getting involved. The president signing an executive order on this crypto reserve that is really the first of its kind. So is this a matter of... is this a continuance of that strategy, or how do you look at that?
I mean, I look at it in a very specific way because in some ways I'm involved in that process from the standpoint that the U.S. Marshal Service since 2019 has been putting out RFPs for people to different companies to manage these currencies, and they've essentially failed about 6 times trying to figure it out. The one thing that we've seen with this administration, Doge, is taking inefficiencies and trying to fix them. In our case, we're in the second protest and probably going to the third one because the basics of handling digital currencies are complex. It's not like selling a boat or real estate. And so I think, when they talk about this digital reserve and he just signed the executive order, it's where you're going to get the assets from. And there's only 2 ways to do it. You can buy them or you can take them from what's been forfeited. And there's about 20 billion that is held pre-forfeiture and post-forfeiture. So it's interesting.
So with all this right now, I think when you look at the general public, there's still a lot of people who are skeptical about crypto and the viability. And is that something? Is it a wise investment? And also, I know there's been a lot of focus on how the Biden administration approached it and the regulators versus the Trump administration right now. So how do you convince maybe a skeptical public that the government wants to get on board with this? Why that's a wise investment?
Well, I'll cover the first thing first. We've been around a long time, and we did everything kind of through a real regulatory process, first with California, then the SEC. And it was incredibly difficult with, the former administration, especially with Gary Gensler at the SEC. Now you're seeing change across the board because that's what's coming from the White House. And that's what's that's where all the enthusiasm is coming from. In terms of, how do you get the public to really respond to it? Well, they eventually do respond to new asset classes. I often think to myself about commodities, and the first time someone sold a pork belly, it just makes me laugh because people will be saying it's like a tulip. It's
yeah.
Digital currencies are dynamic. They're just like any other asset class. You look at Bitcoin; it's a store of value the way gold is. And then you look at all these other currencies that are incredibly dynamic, that have different characteristics, whether it's payment rails or other functionality.
So what do you want to see happen tomorrow with the White House convening this really first of its kind summit?
I think it's really interesting, the selections, in terms of the companies that are there. These are a lot of companies that have created a lot of these technologies. They're issuers, and it's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of it. I'm surprised that the executive order for the Bitcoin reserve happened today. I thought that would be the big announcement.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is, what they're going to do with alternative currencies. With Gensler in office, innovation left this country, and that was incredibly problematic. Now they're really embracing innovation. Bo Hines, who they brought in, this is someone that I've known for quite a while, and he was always concerned about the SEC before and kind of overreach. And you saw innovation leave this country, and we want to keep it here. And that's what's so great about these alternative currencies. They're American-made, a lot of the incredibly successful ones. So we want to see all that technology developed on top of it.
Yeah, well, considering how we have it's almost like another space race. The race to succeed in cryptocurrency. We're going to see a lot of this happening. Les, great to meet you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate you. And the Final Five is back right after this.
Are you really the last person to find out about the Skip Ads Forever button? This is Pi, and if it sounds familiar to you, it's probably because...
Deeply concerned about the future. It's simple math. I learned as a young age from the Sisters of Charity in an Irish school outside Manhattan that 1 + 1 is 2. But if you subtract 2, you have 0. And that's not right, and that's where I fear we're headed. It shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't. Good research and science are not dirty words. Boy, I wish my mother could hear this. I lost my maternal grandfather, my mother, my paternal uncle to Alzheimer's, and before my father's death, he too died of dementia. One of 10 kids, I was at both my parents' deathbed on Cape Cod, the family caregiver. That image burns inside me. Several years ago, Alzheimer's came for me. I also have prostate cancer, ongoing breakdown of my body, given that brain signals are not connecting properly. I also deal with serious internal hemorrhaging at times, and a degree of numbness from my neck to my feet. I feel a little like Gumby. Have a little love here. Alzheimer's with some can be a 20-year journey, the experts say. It's like having a sliver of your brain shaved every day. That's why more research is needed to slay the demons of this disease. Today, I have little short-term memory. A close friend of mine calls it C. That's my MacBook Pro laptop is my best friend. It's my brain. I write everything down before I forget. As with others on this serpentine journey, I deal with disconnections every day, with hallucinations, deep depression, all-out confusion, a loss of self and place. It's not pleasant. And again, that's why we need more research. But I keep moving forward, not retreating. I want to write to encourage others. God is good, and he carries me, footprints in the sand. I'm wholly imperfect as a person, but I see my relationship with the Lord as a combination of the agonizing lurch in the Addams Family and Telly Savalas, the lollipop Kojak, who loves your baby. That's all right. Thank you. But the point about all this is without adequate funding for medical research, without a strong commitment to this, we lose our soul as a nation. I would like to believe that both Republicans and Democrats would not want to go there. This is not a liberal or conservative cause. It's a fight for life issue. I'm almost done, but you'll like this part. So in my journey, I turned to the iconic film Animal House, to the late John Belushi, a.k.a. Bluto Blutarsky, in his epic speech rallying defeated fraternity brothers facing school explosion. Over? Did you say over? Bluto goads them. Nothing is over until we say it is. And so, folks, it isn't over until we say it's over. Keep rallying, keep the faith, be strong in the broken places. God bless you, and thanks for listening.
What did that sign say? This nurse stands with science? It is my pleasure to introduce Congressman Suhas Superman, represents Virginia's 10th Congressional District. A lawyer who has worked in the private sector with several tech startups and started his own business. He previously served as a White House technology policy advisor to President Barack Obama. In the Virginia House of Delegates from 2019 to 2023, and the Virginia State Senate from 2023 to 2024, Suhas passed landmark legislation to lower the costs of tolls, utility bills, and prescription drugs. And lastly, he also co-founded a caucus dedicated to bipartisanship and passed bipartisan bills to improve K-12 education, lower taxes, and address gun safety. Please join me in welcoming Suhas.
How are we doing today? Yeah. I'm Congressman Suhas Superman. I live like 30 minutes from here in Northern Virginia. Any Virginians in the house? Yeah, Virginia. I'm here because there's an attack right now happening on science here, and we have to fight back. Are you ready to fight back with me? Yeah. I stand with science. When I got elected to Congress, I told them put me on the science committee because I want to do bipartisan work. But what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of people letting these cuts to science, technology, innovation happening, and we have to stop it today. We have to stop it because it'll do irreversible damage to our country and to so many people. Science is not just about maps. It's about so much more. It's about saving lives. Science is about making sure we can build a strong economy.
They just kept raising it. Very difficult to deal with, the Canadian representatives. 250% for dairy products, tariff. So where do you hear that? You don't hear that. They have a tremendously high tariff, give you the exact numbers in a little while coming out, on lumber. So they sell us lumber. They have a tremendous tariff. They make it impossible for us to sell lumber or dairy products into Canada, but our numbers are a tiny fraction of that, almost non-existent. And what we're doing is freeing up our forests from the environmental nonsense that they put on them, where you can't cut down a tree. And we have to cut down trees in order to build the firewall.
You might know Harbor Freight for affordability. What you might not know, performance and
China or any of the countries that really, India is a very high tariff nation. I'll tell you what's a high tariff nation is Canada. Canada charges us 250% for our milk product and other product, and a tremendous tariff on lumber and things as such. And yet we don't need their lumber. We have more lumber than they do. We don't need Canada's lumber. So what I'm doing is I'll be signing an executive order.
He developed robot-assisted therapies for children with cerebral palsy. Please join me in welcoming Connor Phillips.
Today, Bitcoin jumps more than 6% as investors look for signs that Trump could walk back some of his new tariffs. The Senate votes to get rid of a DeFi tax requirement. And JP Richardson of Exodus breaks down the company's fourth quarter earnings. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Katie Tarasov. Crypto markets in the green this morning as investors make sense of newly imposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. Investors are also on the lookout for more updates on the president's proposed U.S. crypto reserve, which wasn't mentioned during last night's address to Congress, but will get the spotlight during a crypto summit happening at the White House on Friday. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin and Ether each rose more than 6% to $88,900 and $21.89 respectively, and Solana climbed more than 4%. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. A joint resolution rolling back a crypto tax rule implemented under former President Biden just passed the Senate. The measure looks to do away with an IRS rule finalized back in December, which required DeFi brokers to send 1099 forms to customers. The crypto industry argued that rule placed an unfair burden on DeFi platforms. The joint resolution garnered wide bipartisan support, passing through the upper chamber in a 70-27 vote. Now it heads up to the House. Next, official NBA and NASCAR social media accounts were apparently hacked to promote crypto scams. The flagship X accounts and other official accounts of the leagues posted announcements touting crypto tokens, but those tokens were likely fraudulent and the posts were taken down shortly after. We reached out to the NBA and NASCAR, but didn't hear back immediately. All right, for our main story, we spoke with JP Richardson. He's CEO of Exodus, which reported its fourth quarter earnings for 2024 on Monday. Crypto World's Tanea McKeel asked about the company's revenue and user growth and what a U.S. strategic crypto reserve would mean for his company.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Crypto World. Exodus just delivered earnings on Monday, reported a 107% increase in full year revenue compared to 2023. Talk to me about the biggest drivers behind that growth.
Really comes down to everybody being excited about crypto and digital assets. I mean, first in early 2024, you saw the creation of the Bitcoin ETFs. And then in the summer of 2024, you saw the Ethereum ETFs. And so naturally, these things drive a lot of excitement from the industry. But fundamentally, when it comes down to it, self-custody is popular and people are always looking for a simple, easy to use experience like Exodus. And so when people are interested, they're coming and they find our software, and that's what's really driving the growth.
One other thing that stuck out was a spike in monthly active users from Q3 to Q4. What do you attribute that growth to? And is this related to the run-up in crypto that we saw after the U.S. election or something else?
Yeah, I would say ultimately it's a mixture of a lot of things. Definitely the run-up in crypto and Trump being the crypto president helps. But again, it comes down to the software that we've built, the wallet that we've built, and how easy it is to use. The combination of those two factors really make it so that a lot of people are coming and using Exodus.
Biggest region for growth right now, is it in the U.S. with this about face and crypto strategy, or is it somewhere abroad?
Surprisingly enough, most of our customers are actually outside the United States. The statistics are about 70% outside the United States. So we still have a lot of work to do to get people inside the United States, but most of the growth is coming from outside the United States.
And as a follow-up to that, what's their biggest crypto focus? Is it Bitcoin?
Yes, absolutely. Nothing competes with the king of crypto, Bitcoin. There is only one. Recently I had commented on the strategic crypto reserve. And of course, the strategic crypto reserve, holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and XRP. That's great for our business. But ultimately, I think in the interest of Americans, Bitcoin is the best there. And so, yeah, most of our customers are interested in Bitcoin. We're also seeing the rise of interest in stablecoins. Dollar-backed coins, where a lot of people are using those. And so we see a lot of interest in a lot of these asset classes.
Obviously, that crypto reserve, there's a market sell-off going on now, but a really big story this week. And I guess I just wonder what that would mean, and does something like that have an impact on Exodus, especially in terms of storage? Do you see a role for your company there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the United States signaling to the world that as a country, as a nation, we're going to hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of these assets. No doubt other countries are going to follow. And so then what you're going to have is you're going to have more excitement in this asset class and more people thinking to themselves like, hey, I hear the United States is going to hold Bitcoin and other countries are going to hold Bitcoin. Maybe I myself should go hold some Bitcoin as well. And so it's going to drive more and more interest in this asset class and more people using Exodus.
You mentioned stablecoins a minute ago. What do you make of the progress for legislation there that we're seeing in the U.S. now, or the bills before Congress? So I guess that's the Stable Act and the Genius Act on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see this happen this year. One of the biggest changes I really want to see is the ability for stablecoins to pass on the interest that they're earning from treasuries, from U.S. Treasury bills, to consumers. So you can imagine if you're a consumer and you're holding that stablecoin, that you're actually earning interest as well. And so I think that's going to be really an important thing to see. And looking forward to talking to the president and the rest of the ecosystem on Friday at the White House.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention that all eyes kind of on that event, looking for more direction and detail around the crypto reserve and, you know, the rest of the administration's plans to support the industry. Give me like one or two things that are on the top of your regulatory wish list as a crypto company.
Yeah, the first one really comes down to ensuring that Americans have that right to self-custody, right? I mean, as a creator of a self-custodial wallet, this is going to be paramount for the future for protecting Americans' right and security to hold crypto assets. That's going to be super important. So the next thing is it really comes down to the strategic reserve, and with a big emphasis and focus on Bitcoin. I think that's going to be really important. And then again, with this the third thing would be with this stablecoin legislation, we're going to need to be able to pass on that interest to consumers so that they can benefit as well.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Behold the Branch Ergonomic Chair, a symbiotic companion for the working human with 8 points of
why their STEP benefits were being drastically cut, and why their school lunch programs were being scaled back.
So I have some brief remarks.
Today, Bitcoin rises above $90,000 as Trump officials suggest more exempt.
我去，这个频道直接就报比特币的价格，太没意思了。啊，我看了一下，兄弟们，最有可能第一手资料的就是这个频道，福克斯的这个频道，但是他现在在夹带私货，在讲这些东西啊。
Okay, the elephant in the room. Economists normally assume that a tariff is passed into domestic prices. And as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday, that would change the level of prices once, but wouldn't mean anything for inflation a year later. If we're looking at what happens over the next year, how would we know if the conventional view is not correct and that it's leaked into something more troubling?
Strategy 是个频道名字吗？麻烦你帮发一个链接好不好？ 是这个吗？这个跟我的频道一样的，也是个个人频道。这也是个个人频道，他们在访谈呢。
Are you really the last person to find out about the skip ads forever button? This is Pi, and if it sounds familiar to you, it's probably because
in fact, the most and only chart that you must know about, and that is global liquidity.
This country is frankly not even.
我觉得最有可能的还是福克斯新闻台啊，福克斯的这个。
President Trump has announced plans for a crypto strategic reserve. The U.S. would buy and sell crypto.
Or President Trump putting a month-long or President
Trump has.
He refuses to admit that he scapegoats NIH.
好，我们先停留到这个台上啊，然后我们看一下 Twitter 上面大家都在讨论什么事情啊？带大家看一下看 Twitter 吧，反正现在也没有开始啊，没有开始的话，那咱们就看看 Twitter 上面大家都在讲什么事情啊。哎，这个人在现场吗？准备好买哪个？我操，他在现场？这是应该是有记者发的啊，记者发的，我觉得应该不是他。我们看看评论区，没有人给他评论。OK，现在这个也是直播，但是我给大家看看啊，它这个只是白宫的一个画面啊，它只是白宫外景，它是 coming out。就说马上就出来，但是现在还没有开始直播啊。然后我们再看看其他的，看看老外有没有说什么。Satoshi Bitcoin peer to peer 啊，这个是介绍比特币。区块先生说啊，听说川普可能会宣布 no crypto tax， 也就是说，这个咱们节目里面也讲到过啊，咱们之前跟大家直播的时候讲到过，这个事情是资本利得税啊，加密货币资本利得税，你在美国地区的话。然后你可以随意买卖加密货币，赚了钱不用交税，这一点呢，对于在美国的投资者是一个重大的一个利好。好，那我们看看其他的啊，这个讲特斯拉的，然后最新消息也没有讲什么事情。这个也是 YouTube 直播的，它跟我是一样子的啊。那目前我们看啊，还是没有任何的最新的消息。我也很着急啊，兄弟们，因为我看到时间是我这里时间上午11点半开始直播，但是目前来看我也找不到一手的一个资料。那么现在来看，咱们评论区，咱们这个聊天室的朋友说的是对的啊，是闭门的会议。我觉得现在应该是正在开，但是这个消息还没有传出来，所以说我们要等一下啊，等一下应该会开一个记者发布会。那在记者发布会的时候，就有可能会有重大的消息披露出来，所以说。如果说你是东八区的话，还没睡觉的话，赶紧去睡觉啊！这个事情，不要凑这个热闹，太困了，身体拖垮了，不太好。那在北美地区的，在这个白天呢，反正我现在是这个周五的下午了吧，下午12点多了，没有什么事情，所以我就在这儿看一看啊。那目前来看，推特上面也没有最新的消息啊。那我们看看这个推荐区域，有没有好一点的？目前没有啊，没有。那这个福克斯电视台这个一手的消息，它本来是在这个地方是要放的。大家看它这个上面写的就是 Trump Crypto Event， 但是它现在就是夹带私货啊，在讲这些他们自己的就是共和党他们的一些集会。我目前来看啊，它是在这个 DC Stand Up for Science Relay in DC， 在华盛顿举行的这个为科学站台，我不知道有多少人不在美国的，像美国现在还要在为科学站台，有点搞笑啊。好，那咱们顺带着也看一看， 现在的过去的24小时，我们看一下这个资金的净流入流出的情况啊。那目前来看，比特币啊，过去24小时净流入了4.76亿美元。那我今天早上在新闻频道做的时候是2.6亿美元。那现在是从早上到现在5个小时过去，净流入了2亿美元。那以太坊净流入8590万美元。那我们看到XRP Solana 是净流出的，爱达币净流出的，狗狗币净流出的。然后大家都还有人猜今天会不会拉盘川普这个币啊？但是我们看到川普币净流出900多万美元。然后我们排一个序吧，我们把它排一个序，就净流入最多的还是比特币啊。那今天还是比特币的主场。那我们现在看比特币的价格呢，还是趴在那儿没有动啊，没有动。然后还有什么需要跟大家分享的？我看看这个地方，这是，然后多空比啊，刚才跟大家看了多空比，目前我们把它时间跨度放大一点，那目前做多的人稍微多一点啊，做多的人稍微多一点。然后还有一个清算啊，清算热图跟大家分享一下。OK，我把这个好，那么这个清算地图清算热图这个地方看到了啊，非常的明显啊，在这个地方上方，那我们看到9万多，91000到93000多，非常明显啊，非常明显的这个做空的力量。OK 啊，还有什么？我们看看，这是川普的那个项目，然后呢就没有什么了。那我们还是再等一等吧。我觉得这个福克斯的这个台，那应该是最第一手的资料啊。那把它这个清晰度给大家调一下。这个台的目前在线看直播的人数是第一多的，那其他的台都是几千人。那我觉得应该是在福克斯电视台，即便是这个等一会儿的新闻发布会，应该也是在这个台啊。那我们看到这个他们的这个聊天室啊，我们看看。OK， 开始了。
Signing an executive order. Also, later this afternoon, he will host a cryptocurrency event at the White House, and it looks like we're getting this tape playback maybe right now. Let's see it. Well, they're still going a little start and stop on this. So as soon as we see it rolling right there, we'll have it for you on Live Now from Fox. But like I was saying, you had hosting this cryptocurrency event to talk about the U.S. government holding crypto reserves. And so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. Look at the market reaction today, talking about tariff wars. And really, I mean, we saw the Dow at one point down close to 400 points in the red, and now it sparked right up to 200 in the green. So we'll be keeping an eye on this shot, and as soon as they play it out for us in full, we'll have it for you on Live Now from Fox, everyone. But again, President Trump, in just moments, going to be signing an executive order establishing a White House task force for the 2026 FIFA games. That is going to be exciting. Obviously, parts of the U.S. will be hosting that. And again, we will be providing coverage for you on this playback for President Trump in just moments. In the meantime, keep you out in Washington, D.C. for the Stand Up for Science events.
Prevention work is a team.
OK， 又来了啊，咱就不听他这个 Stand Up for Science 了。这个美国人还真的是，没有文化的人特别多，他们现在还在为科学站台，那真的是滑天下之大稽啊。刚才有朋友问这个看这个净流入流出资金的网站是哪里啊？我看看能不能给你看到。我把这个复制给你吧，我复制到聊天区啊。好，我把这个网站贴到咱们聊天室了啊。那目前的情况呢，刚才是4.6亿啊，现在4.7亿。那资金呢还是在持续的净流出流入，资金在净流入，所以说目前来看啊，我估计应该是利好的面儿会大一点。 不然的话，这个资金为什么提前进来了？那因为我们都知道啊，这个肯定会有老鼠仓。就是今天到底会聊什么？就不管今天会聊出什么结果啊，那今天参加会议的这些人呢，他都是希望加密货币会变得更好的，对吧？那我们从这一点上能分析得出来。好，为科学站台是什么意思？好，那清算的啊，有朋友问清算的这个网站，我也给你发过去啊。每个人都看到的数据不准，也不一定啊。这个数据，这个网站的数据呢，它是集合了全网所有的交易所啊。我们给大家看所有的交易所。你要是说股票的不准的话，那是可以的。但是这个呢不会不准啊，它是集合了所有的交易所。然后呢，比特币它因为它是所有的转账流出呢，它都是公开透明的，所以说我觉得在这一点上不太会存在造假。而且我每一次看这个东西的，就是会有一个参考意义。你不能说我看着它资金净流入了，它就一定会上涨不一定啊，有可能它在这个下面在吸筹码那什么时候拉盘并不知道，或者是再换手也是有可能的，就是只是一个参考的作用吧。要跌了吗？好，大家看一下就是咱们现在，因为他这个直播还在讲这个科学啊，为科学站台，太讨厌了。没有什么好聊的，确实是没有什么好看的这个事情。我们现在要等的就是川普跟这些人，他已经进去快1个小时了。那我估计等一会儿就会有消息，第一手的消息应该会在这个台放出来。因为我看了一圈，其他的台也都是把这个直播画面放到这个台上了啊。好，那我们来看一下 ETF 怎么样啊？看一下 ETF 现在今天的数据还出不来啊，要等到我这里晚上4、5点钟的时候。OK， 好，兄弟们在线的朋友们帮我点一个赞啊，点一个订阅咱们这个频道我发现今天一直播，然后人这么多，好多人还是第一次看到我的频道。就是咱们这个圈子那么小。然后还有人是第一次看到我的频道，我也觉得挺诧异的。咱们这个频道的订阅现在是35904人，确确实实影响面还是比较小的。那么大部分认识我的人呢，还都是通过狗狗币。那现在我转型讲这个，你怎么看不到我的链接？直播开始了，直播开始了是吧？好，我们把声音开出来。
Cup of 2026, which, as you know, is a big event. It's going to be the biggest event, I think. And Johnny, I think you're going to say a few words. Everybody knows this man on the right. He's sort of the king of soccer, I guess, in a certain way. And he was
这是世界杯
was able to give it to us, and we're going to do a fantastic job in making you at home. So I would very much appreciate it. First time it's ever been in this part of the world. And it's an honor. Thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you, President. Well, it is a great achievement to bring the World Cup next year, the FIFA World Cup in 26 here in the United States, together with Mexico and Canada. And this summer, actually, we have a new competition, the FIFA Club World Cup in 25, from the 14th of June to the 13th of July, only in the United States of America. 11 cities, 12 stadiums, the best players in the world, the best teams in the world. America will welcome the world. There will be millions of people coming, Mr. President, millions of people. The economic impact is $40 billion between now and next year. We will create 200,000 jobs for these 2 World Cups. And more than that, we will give joy and happiness to the entire world, and this is priceless, definitely. So thank you, Mr. President, for setting up this task force, because it is important that everyone that comes to America feels safe, feels welcome, and that's why it's important that the government puts together this White House task force chaired by the president himself. It shows the importance of the FIFA World Cups, I should say, because There are many topics to deal with, of course, and we want everyone who comes to America and who goes to watch one of these games. We have 10 million tickets for sale. It's like 3 Super Bowls every day for 1 month. That everyone that goes feels safe, feels happy, and feels that we are doing something special. So we're here to create and to make the best show on the planet ever, and we'll do it together, Mr. President.
Oh, that's great. I love what he said, like 3 Super Bowls a day for a month. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's really amazing when you think of it. I've never heard that expression. That's a lot. When we made this, it was made during my term, my first term.
我觉得这个新闻还是录播啊，不是直播的。这是讲的这个富报，我觉得应该是橄榄球啊。
So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. That was quite an achievement for both of us. So I'll be president during the World Cup and during the Olympics, which we were very instrumental in getting. And then, of course, we have our 250th birthday too. And of that, I wasn't instrumental. That just happened to fall on the same time. So we have those 3 big events. You don't get very much bigger than that: the Olympics, the World Cup, and number 250. And it's a great honor, but I appreciate your selecting us. And we were selected a long time ago, though, during the term, during my first term. And it's an honor to be with you, Johnny. Been my friend for a long time.
Absolutely.
He's a great gentleman. Okay, I'll sign this, and that makes it official, right?
哦，美国讲的 football 是橄榄球，足球呢是 soccer。OK， 跟其他的地方的叫法不太一样啊。
Well, the Super Bowl has around 100 million viewers or 150 million viewers. The World Cup final has 2 billion viewers. So we have to make it 20 times better and 20 times bigger than the Super Bowl.
哦，世界杯的话是足球啊，足球，我搞错了。
Yeah, it's huge. It's around 40 billion in only the United States, $40 billion US, the economic impact, 200,000 jobs created. It's so per city you can divide by 11, and you know a little bit what each city gets, more or less. Some cities get more, others get less.
网站总的加密。
Some with tickets, others without tickets. You just want to be here.
好，总的是吧？你在你打开这个网站，然后在上方，你能看到这个地方吧？我把这个屏幕往下放一放啊。在这个地方啊，那它有一个 volume flow， 你点进去之后呢，它是一个这样子的一个情况啊，它不是一个数据。那么在这个地方，大家能看到啊，在这个鼠标能看到啊。 在这儿点一下 liquidity length， 那么点完之后你就能看到了，就能看到这个了。这个网站我觉得还算是客观，你如果说有闲钱的话，你可以去买一个他的会员。我在这里我注册了无数次，然后呢他都不让我看，但是我觉得免费的这个也是够用的了，也是够用的了。 好，那我们看一下这个推特上面有没有重要的一些消息出来啊？推特上面，这是20个小时之前的，这个就不对了。CRV。
Sitting there, but not as president. So I was, very honored. Actually, Johnny reminded me, called me up very early on. He said, "You're going to be president during this whole thing after we won." So it's a great honor.
哦，这是谁拍的照片？现在正在开会啊。我们现在看到这个区块先生他发的这些，CZ 是不是已经到了？不知道啊，完全不知道。Breaking news， 哦，这是他发的，不是区块先生不在现场，搞错了，他妈的。 我以为他在现场呢。 哦，这个也是他刚才搞的啊，他转发的别人的。我们在这里搜一下吧 ，Crypto Summit， 我们看一下最新的啊。这个人是谁？Ripple 的 CEO。OK， 这个人是 Ripple CEO。这个图太搞笑了。万斯最近被美国的年轻人恶搞的不行。Have you ever said thank you？ 你有没有说过谢谢？操！为什么一搜这个全是？啊，应该是我看一下啊。我看一下大家的留言啊。现在咱们先不管他们在聊什么，世界杯跟咱们加密货币没啥关系啊。83000闭眼抄，哎，对，现货的话，你就跌的时候你就抄底就行了啊。快去做空当空，去当燃料，空康了。83000抄，现在多少了？87000吗？这不是还是？力哥你好，请问直播的 live caption 是哪个工具？是 Google 上面的一个，你在 setting 里面，在设置里面就能看到，这是能找到 setting 里面，然后有一个辅助设备就能看到了。好，很多朋友可能没看过我的视频啊，那也在这里也露一下脸给大家看一看啊。好，目前我们主要回复一下咱们评论区里面的问题吧。我把灯开一下啊，有点暗。都开会了，没点反应，是因为消息还没有传出来。那我们现在呢，只是在看一些录播的新闻，然后没有任何的消息传出来啊。那我也在一边看着这些新闻，然后呢，也在观察着这个推特上面，因为文字会传的会比较快一点啊。那目前来看，我们看不到任何的。哎，大家看到这个人了吗？他是不是在开会啊？刘丽丽啊 ，make plan together with 他 and 他。Plus, I want to memorize the first last time see。他刘丽丽，Solana的基金会的主席，他是不是在白宫？他如果是参加的话，那这件事情，这也是能解释为什么 Solana 刚刚是拉了一波盘啊。两岸加起来有1000万人，哎，应该会超过1000万人啊。4点半开始了，感觉还是庄家在做局。点进去预告了10倍合约单，等血流成河再买吧。研究怎么割我们这帮韭菜。 对 YouTube 上面很多直播的打着马斯克的头或者是其他的头直播的呢，有可能都是诈骗的不要去看。新唐人电视台有中文翻译，新唐人他现在没有啊，第一手信息一定是在福克斯电视台上，他也是转播的他的。XRP CEO 都来了，这波稳了，有没有交流群？有交流群啊，有交流群，我把这个链接发到咱们聊天室啊。那我现在的交流群呢是我不敢打开，为什么呢？是因为太多诈骗的了啊。咱们现在这个留言区呢还是一个禁言的啊，不是留言区，是这个电报群的链接，我发给大家啊。牛市结束，祝福你们。93000到95000压力太大了。这次会议有没有以太坊代表？以太坊代表好像没看到啊。主播怎么看？跌好涨？这个我不知道啊。我昨天视频里面跟大家分析的，有可能会先拉盘，然后再砸盘。但是呢，要看具体的一个情况。118000，我希望今天能上去啊。那这位置做空不行，这个是录播还是直播？刚刚足球的那个是录播啊。有机会补73000到75000的缺口吗？那缺口是在77930，并不是73000到75000。还在说足球，主播多大了？我30多岁。直播视频的翻译怎么弄的，力哥啊？我回头跟大家做一个教程吧。那么多人在问啊，新唐人有直播，还以为你很帅呢。我刚刚看了这个帅啊，不能当饭吃。加密峰会聊足球，主播在美国，我是在美国，对的，我都困了啊。东八区的朋友，赶紧睡觉去吧。刚以为是你，这背景太假了的主播，什么意思？力哥第一次加密峰会一定是有振兴效果，对，我觉得应该会传出来一些好的消息啊。我们看看。OK， 这个还是抓这个非法移民的啊。市场大概几点有反应？有点累了，等2小时了。力哥有粉丝群吧？粉丝群在下方啊，刚刚发了链接。力哥在美国读书吧？我都30多岁了，肯定不是读书啊！你看胡子一大把了。这种节骨眼多头危险，割韭菜。以太坊是威神，对，开始砸盘了。我去，真的砸嘞！什么消息都没有，我估计庄家也是等困了吧，像你们一样都困了。87000， 5分钟线啊！大家不要觉得这个砸盘我放的是5分钟线啊，不要惊慌，不要恐慌，吓我一跳。我眯一会儿眼睛听你直播，等拉盘了你就大声点。好，行。我是怎么一直在低，一直在低。大家都是在东八区的嘛？中国大陆的，或者是台湾的，还是在什么地方？我刚刚尝试着通过 B 站直播，结果 B 站把我所有每一次直播都给我闭掉了，说审核通过不了。我想 B 站和 YouTube 优管一起直播，哎，有了。
Sitting down. Now we're just waiting for the president to be at the center of that table. But looks like that is going to be starting up pretty soon. So what I'll do is I'll take another 2-minute break, get that out of the way, and we'll come back and see if this is going right there at the White House in just moments.
好，刚才我就一眼就看过去有微策略的 Michael Saylor 以及 Coinbase 的那个光头 CEO Armstrong， 其他的人我没认出来啊，因为他这个镜头晃得太快。 圈一圈演员。哎，没翻译了吗？有翻译啊，有翻译啊。战略储备昨天就有了，但是是一个总统的行政指令，然后他讲的呢，只是说连20万的比特币不卖啊，仅此而已。想问翻译的 ，OK 好哦，我发现太多人问这个了啊，跟大家讲一讲怎么去操作啊。大家看到在 setting 里面啊，我给大家演示一下。哎，不好意思，跑这儿来了。哦，这个屏幕大家好像看不清楚啊。OK， 在这儿 setting 里面在 accessibility。OK， 在这个地方点完之后，然后你把这个 live translator 把这个地方点亮就 OK 了，好吧？OK， 他现在还是 stand up for science， 还是为科学站台啊。市场疲软。以太坊2000了吗？2100嘛，这不是？不过以太坊这一波砸的挺猛的啊。我们还是盯着比特币吧。
So DC, America, say with me, we must challenge. We must stand up for truth. We must stand up for inclusion. And we must stand up for science. Thank you.
Shout out my UNC folk that are here. Yup. All right, real quick. I'm a first-generation college student scientist of color. And I love mentoring the next generation of scientists. And this next speaker was a mentee of mine in a pipeline program. Her name is Sarah Alamon. She's a post-bac research fellow at the NIEHS. She is also a first-generation college student who earned her BA in molecular biology with a minor in chemistry from McDaniel College in Westminster, Maryland. While in college, she uncovered a love for research through opportunities at McDaniel, as well as through the NSF's research experiences for
NBC 在直播吗？我们看一下啊。
NSF REUs.
NBC 我们看一下 NBC。 CNBC 还 NBC。
And you've all been working very hard and very successfully. And
哦，开始了啊，开始了啊，兄弟们。
wonderful place, the White House. I want to begin. Is Johnny here from World Cup? I want to thank you for this election. And they just had a presentation in the Oval Office, and I thought this was such a beautiful. This is the trophy. This is a big deal. The World Cup is the biggest sporting event, and Johnny Infantino is my friend for a long time. And during my first term, we worked out a deal to get the World Cup, and then because of lots of interesting things that happened, I ended up being president when it showed up. I was always disappointed. I wasn't going to make it. I was going to serve 8 straight. Instead, we did it the hard way, but maybe the more important way. So I will be with you as president, Johnny. So maybe you could just say a few words and show how beautiful the World Cup trophy is. Thank you. Yeah, sure, please.
This is
Yeah.
the famous key.
That's a great key.
You want to go there, President? Or
Well, you go ahead.
I go ahead.
I trust you.
So this is the new trophy of the new competition. It's called the FIFA Club World Cup. The 32 best clubs in the world with the absolutely best players in the world. For the first time in history, this competition takes place in the United States. Opening game on the 14th of June.
Right.
Obviously, in Miami, final on the 30th of July this year in New York, New Jersey. And it's not that, it's really special because it's a key, and because, as you can see, if I manage to do that, it's a bit tricky. It's so this is a trophy. It is a trophy which represents, and that's why I think it's interesting.
我操，微策略跟我的手机壳一模一样啊，给大家看一看。
It represents the past, but it's also projected to the future.
同款。
There's no other
同款啊。
sports trophy which looks like that. It has engraved the history of the game, of soccer or football as we call it, the participating teams of the first edition. The stadiums, the beautiful stadiums in the 11 cities in the United States of America where this competition will take place. So at the same time, past, present, and projected to the future. And if I may, President, say another 2 words, and then I let you work. I'd like to congratulate the President and the administration for not only for the World Cup, the Club World Cup, the World Cup, and the great work done, but also for this initiative that you are speaking about here. If I may add something in this respect, I'm not an expert at all, but FIFA, as you know, is a brand which is globally known, a very strong brand.
还是在聊足球，太讨厌了。 刚才有人说，听声音以为是腹肌小哥哥，看样子是油腻大叔。我在努力减肥当中啊，确实是太油腻了，太肥了。
And so FIFA is very, very interested under my presidency to develop a FIFA coin, to do it from here, from America, and to conquer the 5 billion soccer fans in the world. So if there is anyone here who is interested to team up with FIFA, here we are, together with the United States of America, and we will conquer the world of soccer with the FIFA coin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That coin, that coin may be worth more than FIFA. In the end, it could be quite a coin, actually. Anyway, thank you, Johnny. Great job. I just thought you should see this trophy because it's really, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and we have it here, and we appreciate being selected. Thank you very much. You do a fantastic job. And welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit. I know that many of you have been fighting for years for this, and it's an honor to be with you at the White House. I want to thank the White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, Treasury Secretary. This is David right here, in case you don't know. You know David. And the man who's doing a great job as Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who's right here. Scott, thank you very much. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, wherever you may be, Howard. Hi, Howard. He's doing some interesting work right now with
介绍了他的左右手啊。
He's right in the middle of it and doing a great job. Thank you. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler. And thank you. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce. Thank you, Hester. Acting CFTC Chairman Caroline Pham. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Well, hello, Tom. Representative Brian Stile. Thank you. Brian, thank you very much. Digital Assets Council Director Bo Hines. Sweet Bo, great job. And many other distinguished guests. We have a lot of very distinguished people around the table. Some of them will be speaking. I want to thank Marco Rubio also, who's right over there. And we have tremendous people very interested in this subject. And last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world and the crypto capital of the planet. And we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise, as you know, around the table. Yesterday, I signed an executive order officially creating our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this will be a virtual Fort Knox for digital gold to be housed within the
数字黄金比特币战略储备啊，又提到了。
The federal government is already among the largest holders of Bitcoin, as you know. Really one of the largest holders in the world, with as many as 200,000 Bitcoin obtained via civil law and various other forms of law, and including enforcement actions. These existing holdings will form the foundation of the new reserve. Unfortunately, in recent years, the U.S. government has foolishly sold tens of thousands of additional Bitcoin that were worth billions and billions of dollars had they not sold them, but they did sell them, mostly during the Biden administration. Not a good thing to have done. From this day on, America will follow the rule that every Bitcoin knows very well: never sell your Bitcoin. That's a little phrase that they have. I don't know if that's right or not.
永远不要卖出你的比特币啊！然后他又刚刚是埋汰了一下这个拜登，说他们卖了很多。
Who knows? But so far, it's been right. And well, let's keep it that way.
哦，肯定要涨了啊！
The Treasury and Commerce Departments will also explore new pathways to accumulate additional Bitcoin holdings for the reserve, provided it's done at no cost to the taxpayers. We don't want any cost to the taxpayers.
OK， 资本利得税。
My order directs federal agencies to conduct an inventory of all crypto assets currently held by the U.S. government and determine how they can be transferred easily to the Treasury. Non-Bitcoin digital assets will be held in a new U.S. digital asset stockpile where they will be managed properly. My administration also is working to end the federal bureaucracy's war on crypto, which was really going on pretty wildly during Biden until the election came about. About 5 months before the election, he became a big fan because he heard how many people were in favor of it and how many people love it and respect it. But I guess it didn't work out too well for him. People understood what was going on and paved the way for groundbreaking innovations in institutional finance. Under the Bitcoin administration, regulators strong-armed banks. I mean, they really did. They strong-armed banks into closing the accounts of crypto businesses and entrepreneurs, effectively blocking some money transfers to and from exchanges, and they weaponize government against the entire industry. But I know that feeling also. Maybe better than you do. All of that will soon be over, and we are ending Operation Choke Point 2.0. You know, some people are really suffering. It was ridiculous what they were doing, but in the end, they came around, but they came around for the wrong reasons. They came around only because they wanted votes, and they saw that tens of millions of people are, were against them because of what they were doing. I also want to express my strong support for the efforts of lawmakers in Congress as they work on bills to provide regulatory certainty for dollar-backed stablecoins and the digital assets market. They're working very hard on that. This is a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and innovation in our financial sector, and will really go a long way. I think it's going to be a tremendous, we feel like pioneers in a way, tremendous method of growth. And things are very much tied, and we want to keep it that way, the US dollar. Long into the future, we're going to keep it that way. I hope lawmakers will send that legislation to my desk before August recess if they can. And they're very much working with you, and you know a lot of them, and a lot of them were committed right from the very beginning. So I just want to congratulate you all for being at the White House today, and a man who knows more about Bitcoin and AI and just about everything else than anybody, David Saxon. I'd like to have you say a few words, David.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're all here today because of your leadership, your vision, your generosity. I really want to thank you for that. We're also here because of your desire to make America great and to introduce a golden age in America, including for digital assets. And we're here because of your love of innovators, or as you might say, high IQ people. We know you love high IQ people. And we have about 30 of them here in the room today. These are the top people in the digital asset industry. And one other thing that I think that you love is legal fairness. This is an industry that was subjected to prosecution and persecution for the last 4 years, horrible lawfare, and nobody knows what that feels like better than you do. So we really appreciate the fact that you understand legal fairness and that you're always willing to fight for the right thing, for legal fairness. You never back down. You stand defiant, even in the face of an assassin's bullet. It's an inspiration to everyone in this room, I think. So it's an honor. So I just want to say it's an honor to work for you. It's an honor to work for a president who works every day to get so much done on behalf of the American people. Your administration is moving at tech speed. It's really amazing. It's actually faster than any startup that I've been part of. Is that your administration moves even faster. So I just want to say thank you for having me be a part of it. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I love working for you, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, very much. Appreciate it.
And now I just want to pass the ball to Secretary Besson.
Scott.
David, so today, when President Trump has signed the executive order to establish the strategic Bitcoin reserve and stockpile, we're going to position the United States as a leader among nations in the digital asset strategy. It's important for the United States to recognize this fact and get ahead of the other nations in the digital age. We applaud the President's direction to use the digital assets already in possession of the nation, and we are going to establish this Bitcoin reserve. We use this authority to augment the asset side of the United States balance sheet. As I've said many times, President Trump is creating assets for the American people, while most past presidents have created debt. And a large part of this asset program can be in digital assets. We are going to end the regulatory weaponization against digital assets. The Biden administration's actions did nothing other than punish innovators, and that all of you have made it here today is really a testament to your fortitude. Much of Treasury's responsibility in this order relates to the tax code and determinations around risk weightings, and I'm here to assure you that we are going to work with the controller of the currency, the IRS, and we're going to rescind and amend all applicable previous guidance. And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Thank you.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency. He understands technology, he embraces technology, and he's going to use technology to drive America forward. The blockchain and Bitcoin technology are a key part of that thinking, and embracing that, and here today shows how much a leader the Trump administration and our president is. He understands it, he embraces it. As you said, you're a pioneer in this place, and this is where we're going. We're using blockchain, we're using Bitcoin, we're going to use digital assets to pound forward, and Donald Trump is leading the way. Can't be more proud of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
这是个高手啊，美国商务部部长脱稿演讲。
Thank you, Mr. President. This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration. You're moving at the speed of tech for sure, and I will just say it's a great day to have the war on not just crypto, but the war on innovation done. And under your administration, we are truly going to enter into the golden age. And I'll just say, as the administrator of the SBA, small business is a tremendous network that crypto can be deployed against, and so the SBA is open to crypto. So I look forward to working with all of the leaders in this room to advance your efforts here. Thank you.
Thank you.
好，刚刚演讲的这两个人都是讲到了技术啊，黄金时代。
Mr. President, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for the amazing team that you put together. I want to thank you for David. I mean, this kind of a meeting, no one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple years ago. You are the one that has the vision. You're the one that said, we are going to do 21st century finance right here in the United States of America. I've been doing this for 9 years. It is amazing how far we've come, and that's a credit to you, Mr. President, and your leadership, and God bless you for doing this, because it's going to make a huge difference with everything else you're doing. And by the way, Americans love it. They're going crazy. Thank you, sir.
继续拍马屁，说你好牛逼啊，你好了不起啊，你做的事情就是我们怎么样，反正就是吹牛逼呗。
Does anyone want to say a couple of words? Cameron or Tyler, do you want to?
You're very shy.
Actually, Cameron, I think you said something earlier that I thought was really profound. You said that a year ago, you thought it would be more likely that you'd end up in jail than at the White House. Not to put you on the spot, because you didn't do anything wrong, but that was the environment a year ago. But do you guys want to say something? Either one.
Dynamite.
Sure, actually Tyler who said that. but sorry.
I still get mixed up.
But yeah, we never thought that we'd get attacked the way we did in our backyard after trying to do the right thing for so many years and always trying to raise the bar with respect to regulations. So it's truly wonderful to see how things have changed and how the pendulum has swung back in the way that it has. And we've always felt that the U.S. should lead in Bitcoin and crypto, and it's ours to sort of lead and win. And it's just wonderful what President Trump has been doing with this, and we look forward to working together. And thanks for inviting us, David, and setting us up.
Thank you. Thank you both. Please.
I was just going to say, thank you, Mr. President. Cameron takes credit for a lot of my things I say, so it's not the first time. But the U.S. won the internet, and the U.S. should win crypto. So thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you both very much. High IQ individuals around this table. That's what I always say. We need high IQ. So thank you very much. Would anybody like to say anything? Please.
I just want to express my deep gratitude for the seriousness with which you're approaching our industry and how you're actually helping guide it in the right direction. I work with many central banks in other countries, and when I was working there, I was wondering why I, as an American citizen, can't help the United States financial system reach this higher level that the world is on course towards generally. And so I'm very grateful that finally there's been a new level of kind of common sense and adoption of these ideas. Me and the other people in this room do believe that the crypto, blockchain, Web3 infrastructure is the next iteration of the financial system. And I think that the US should have its leadership position continue in that new financial system. And I'm very, very happy to see people like David Sachs, Secretary of Investment, Secretary Lutnick taking this very seriously with their time, and very grateful them too. So I'm just overjoyed to see this, and I think it is a big part of how the U.S. can continue its role in the global financial system. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought it was very important that we stay in the front of this one. This is a big one. And as you know, China is pushing forward and very strongly as usual, but we're way in the lead as we are in AI and other things, and we want to stay there. So I thought this was very important, and we have some brilliant people sitting around this table. And it's an honor to have you involved, but we want to stay at the forefront of everything. And this is a very important day in your lives. I know you worked, some of you, very long before people really understood what was happening. And so I congratulate you, but this is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and you have great support. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, media. Thank you. Please.
Watch. 什么情况？我操！结束了。
And conclusions and are aware of this conference.
我靠，这么快就结束了，然后比特币跌成这个熊样了，我去！哦，没有了，结束了。哎呦，真的是越讲越跌啊，越讲越跌，真的是太讨厌了。我们看看啊，比特币目前的价格是85900。还在跌。好，这个刚刚讲了什么呢？刚刚什么也没讲啊，就是在那吹牛。川普刚开始说了什么呢？川普说，我们签了这个协议，这个比特币战略储备的这个叫什么来？总统行政令了，对吧？然后呢，然后一帮人呢就开始啊，我们可以回过头来看一下啊。坐在他这个，哎，我们找一个画面啊。整个过程当中啊，他就找了加密货币的2、3个人讲了话，然后其他的都是他自己的官僚，在讲话啊。那这个 Michael Saylor 和这个 Armstrong 这2个人都没有被邀请讲话啊，可能等一下他们会有一个闭门会议。刚刚是一个记者的一个见面会，那现在是公开给大家看完这个之后就结束了。那么我认为啊，等一下再过几个小时，那我们可能会看到，哎，这个东西放这儿了，可能挡住视线了啊。好，那整体的情况是没有讲太多的内容，所以说大家又有一个这叫什么预期又有一个落空的一个情况，所以说吧，这个比特币又开始往下跌了。那么我觉得呢，这个会议啊，没什么东西啊，没讲到什么东西。我们拉到最后来看。到这就结束了，直接就掐断了啊！直播直接就掐断了。刚刚我如果没看错的话，刚刚这2个人应该是 应该是Gemini 的这个交易所的双胞胎吧，这2个人。然后还有一个大胡子，最后发言的那个大胡子，我不太熟悉他。哎，在最后一个，我不太认识那个人。然后川普这边的人就是在互相捧臭脚，互相拍马屁，也没有讲到什么东西。具体的一个，刚刚那个女的讲的呢，就是有一些这个女的，哎，刚这个女的讲的呢，就是这个人啊，他讲的还不错啊。他说这个比特币呢是他先夸川普是懂技术的人啊，比特币是区块链是一个新的一个技术。然后这个女的呢接着又说，现在呢是比特币进入一个黄金的时代。我就这2个人发言啊，这个应该是商务部的部长 Department of Commercial， 这个女的这个 title 我看不清楚啊。这个是 Treasury， 这个是 Treasury 应该是这个叫财政部吧，财政部部长。然后川普的这个叫左边的这个人啊，他是加密沙皇啊 David Sachs。这几个人还是比较关键的啊。总体来讲，今天就是公开的内容没有讲什么东西。那等一下我们再看一下 Twitter 上面，有没有重大的一些就是咱们看不到的一些信息的披露。然后我们看一下啊。加密峰会好像什么也没说，就一帮老外在那儿谢谢。这个总结非常到位啊。然后对，这个地方唯一一个值得跟大家说的就是，他说美国不会卖比特币啊。就这一个还是比较这个看bullish 的。他说我愿称之为彩虹屁大会啊，没有吸引市场给直观反应，好吧。OK， 好，威神没去，对，我操。粉丝群里面我看一下啊，等一下有没有重大的消息披露啊？如果说有重大消息披露的话，那么我可能会发一些这个指导性的一些操作，比如说这个前面跟大家讲的，爱达币啊做空的这个事情啊，可能会跟大家讲一讲。好，那咱们直播先到这儿吧，那大家也不要熬了，那这个该睡觉的睡觉，该干嘛的干嘛去啊，在这熬着也没什么用。我觉得这个今天应该不会有太大的消息披露了。那目前来看，真的是整个市场，市场也是挺买账的啊，确确实实给出来了一个，这个走势呢也是告诉大家，那你们什么都不讲，那市场就是这样子趴下去了，好吧？感谢大家今天的收看啊，非常非常感谢。那今天的咱们这个直播人数非常多，然后再一次呼吁大家去订阅一下我的频道啊，咱们这个频道呢是以讲比特币为主的。那我的一个理念呢就是比特币啊最大主义者。然后呢我自己呢本身是买了很多的狗狗币，然后在2021年做狗狗币的时候讲了很多视频，然后吸引了很多狗狗币的粉丝。那么后面呢我发现狗狗币并不是唯一的加密货币，所以说我开始研究比特币、以太坊各种各样的币啊我都研究了差不多。然后呢慢慢的就是观念的就转变为比特币最大主义者了。那么你会看到我在频道里面会所有的事情都是基于比特币的一个基础上，所以咱们频道也叫比特币阿里啊。然后大家点赞一下咱们这个视频，然后订阅一下吧，非常非常感谢大家今天的收看。我看看咱评论区还有没有朋友有问题啊？主播刚才空了嘛？我刚才没来得及，我跟大家在做直播嘛。川普今天说不卖，后天又说卖，可能性也有。对的，87000开，88000手动平了。爱达跌10%，爱达跌10%吗？爱达跌哦，我去，爱达，我有一个长线的爱达币的空单，刚刚在80的地方，我没有平仓，等一下再等一等。我觉得 爱达币现在这个走势可能还要再跌一跌啊。其实刚刚爱达币应该在0.86的这个地方去开空的，没看到，等一下再找机会吧。反正今天爱达币的这个创始人也不在现场，对吧？他前面吹牛逼吹成那样，说怎么样参加白宫的什么晚宴呀，加密的晚宴呀，又是去佛罗里达去见川普啊，但是最后他的影子都没有出现在这个画面里面。那我们看到谁在这个里面呢？哎，这个地方，那我们看到 Michael Saylor 啊 ，Armstrong 啊，这两个人我认识啊，其他的人我应该是认不太清楚啊，因为跟他们这个看他们的脸看的比较少。OK， 好，非常感谢大家的收看，那咱们就是先到这儿吧。马斯克没来啊，马斯克不是这个加密货币里面的主要的一个领袖，他是负责的这个Doge啊叫什么效率部门啊。现在怎么办？套在9万5啊，9万5不要着急啊，你要是没开合约杠杆的话没关系。近期做多以 ETH 强评价多少安全？ETH 你强评价放在2000以下吧。主播估计今天能掉到多少比特币？我们看一下比特币现在的价格多少啊？比特币啊，比特币去哪儿了呢？这个怎么这么小呢？我们大家关注一下84000吧，84600，就是这是昨天下午的时候的一个低点，关注一下吧。如果说这个地方能够稳住的话，应该就稳了；如果说稳不住的话，那就是看下面这个低点81000。然后呢，咱们昨天视频跟大家讲到了，就是78000这个地方没跌到位啊，77930这个点位，如果说跌到的话，那后面的走势就踏实了。那目前来看，我还不敢说啊，我不敢说这个它就一定能怎么样了啊，这个事情很难讲的啊。我把这个屏幕给大家放一下，这屏幕有点诡异啊。现在大家看这个应该看得很清楚啊。OK，84000吧，我觉得在84000、81000这两个点位，目前来看没有什么好企稳啊。在这个咱们今天视频结束之前吧，然后再给大家看一看这个，再给大家看看这个资金的情况啊。那刚刚这一波会议之后啊，净流出了大概7、8千万美元吧。那目前整体的资金还是净流入的，那我觉得还行，总体来说还可以啊。卖了房子买的9万5，现在急着卖币还钱，割肉嘛！我操，你卖了房子买的比特币，为什么是要还钱呢？什么意思？没看懂。你应该是卖了房子，是你自己的钱呀，你为什么还要还钱？不建议在场外加杠杆去买比特币啊，这样太危险了。主播Solana 看我的之前的视频啊，讲过好多期的 Solana。合约爆仓200万，一无所有了。我操，这个大叔200万 U 啊，还是200万人民币啊？活着是最好的啊！你要是你再见了这个世界，那你就是一个怂货啊！我不建议你这么干，怎么着？好死不如赖活着，对不对？小辉也是再见了这个世界，你们在干嘛呢？这是真是我去，不要这样子啊！狗狗币希望能到4吗？哎呀，狗狗币，我现在都不敢讲狗狗币了。说实在话，这个我自己拿了很多的狗狗币，然后狗狗币最近也是非常的不争气，没办法。那么看到狗狗币也是跌得一塌糊涂，对吧？ 跌得一塌糊涂，已经快回到这个震荡区间了。那这个震荡，我们画一个这个震荡区间，在这个地方，它其实已经又到这个箱体的内部了。好吧，兄弟们，东八区的兄弟们都熬了一晚上了，该睡觉的睡觉去啊。即便是爆仓了，然后呢，也不要轻生啊，不要有这种想法。那我可以跟大家透露一下，我2021年，手里面拿着很多狗狗币，然后也没办法卖，因为当时价格跌了下来，然后后面又被一个人给起诉了。那我整个的2022年、2023年都是非常痛苦的。但是我即便是那样子啊，我也从来没有想过结束自己的生命。如果说你结束了自己的话，那你就再也没有翻本的机会了。你如果说还能坚强的活下去啊，那不管是欠多少款，不管是怎么样啊，早晚有一天你还会再回到前面的辉煌。但是呢，你一旦结束了自己，就完全没有任何希望了。那你的家人，对吧？你爱你的人，他们就会更加的痛苦。那本来你给他们留了一个烂摊子，然后呢，你又这么轻易的就了结了自己的话，那你想想，爱你的人，你的父母、你的亲人、你的爱人，他们会更加痛苦，对不对？不要折磨别人，你自己的事情自己承担下去啊。76000的强评价，我去，我这个不太好啊，不太好跟你回答。这样子吧，大家去我的这个电报群里面吧，有任何的问题，然后跟我留言吧。然后我觉得咱们今天直播差不多先到这儿吧。然后我把这个咱们电报群里面的这个链接我放到咱们这个聊天区域啊。95000大概多久能到？这个95000，这个我很难讲的啊。我觉得哈，我是比较乐观的。我觉得如果闭门会议的话 ，Michael Saylor 和 Armstrong 啊 ，Michael Saylor 大家都知道是谁啊，微策略的老板，然后 Armstrong 是 Coinbase 的老板。那这两个人如果说能够把他们脑子里面想的东西，能够说服川普或者和在场的所有的这些官僚，然后他们能够接受的话，那我觉得接下来的行情会很好。就看这两个人的忽悠能力怎么样了啊，就是能不能把他们洗脑。川普，我们再说一下，川普这个人是不相信比特币的，他相信的就是从币圈里面捞钱，而不是说振兴币圈。那振兴币圈的人只能是币圈自己的人，而不是靠着政府啊。群链接我已经发了啊，兄弟们，大家看不到我的群链接吗？再发一次啊。这个会议真坑，确实是啊。哎，大家看不到我发的群链接吗？能看到吗？大家？大家谁回复一下，我发的链接难道被系统给吃掉了吗？可以，就是不能发言。对，咱们群里面我再解释一下为什么我的群不让大家发言呢？是因为这样子的啊，咱们通过看我的视频进群的很多新手朋友问了一些很小白的问题，然后群里面就有20-30个骗子就围着一个新手在那儿骗，还有人伪装成我的样子，然后去骗人家。我觉得这个骗子现在太过分了啊！那咱们现在呢，就是，先是禁言吧。那禁言的话，就是能保护一些新手啊。后面我再想想，咱们是通过什么样子的一个途径给大家提供一个自由交流？那是在这个聊天直播的时候聊天呢，还是说在我的视频下方呢？哈，我觉得直播的时候聊天会更好一点吧。这样的话，这个 YouTube 它的保护措施还是比较好，就是骗子也不能找你私聊，对不对？我觉得这里面还是比较好的啊。好的，感谢大家的回复啊。 这边监测多单已经进场了，我们再看一下这个，资金的情况啊。好，大家看到了没？刚才是407 million 啊，4.07亿，现在是4.13亿啊。那刚刚的这个下探啊，那么咱们再看一下，再刷新一下这个清算热图啊。OK， 啊，我觉得看完这个清算热图，我就不担心了啊。我们看到上方大面积的这个空单在这儿，然后呢，在结束之前，咱们再看一下多空比啊，再刷新一下多空比。多空比的话，这个是4小时的多空比，那目前做空的人会多一点呢。哎，对，现在是做空的人多，大家应该明白怎么回事了啊。然后这一个是这个没有什么参考的。还有一个是资金费率啊，资金费率我们看一下，资金费率目前币安是基准的 0.01， 然后 OKX 是低于 0.001， 这个也是低，都是很低，只有这个被 get 的比较高一点啊，红的是高的，然后大家看到没？以太坊的资金费率都是负的了啊。然后 Solana 也是负的，然后 XRP 也是负的，爱达币也是负的。我靠，爱达币是不是不能空了？再看一眼啊，爱达币好像不能空了。哦，比特币也反弹了啊，兄弟们，这资金进场了，不用担心了。那回头我再做一个视频，跟大家再讲一讲今天的这个情况吧。因为咱们这个直播的话就是比较碎片化了。那如果说我浓缩成一个10分钟10到15分钟视频的话，信息量会更加的足一点，好吧？非常感谢大家啊。资金费率负呢，就说明做空的人太多了，就不能再做空了。纸飞机链接不是发了吗？直接点进去就可以进了。你要下载一个 Telegram 嘛？哎，我这个能不能置顶一下？我是不是可以置顶 ？OK， 好。我刚刚呢是把咱们电报群的链接置顶了啊。置顶了一下，那你就可以看到了，好吧？好，那咱们现在还有700多人在直播间啊，这是我应该算好长时间在直播间没有看到这么多人了。上一次直播间里面有大概5、6千人的时候是，当年狗狗币的重大事件的时候。那现在看来，这个川普搞的这个动静呢还是蛮大的啊。不愧是流量之王，特别会玩这个流量的。好，那咱们今天要不先这样吧啊。清算热图那个怎么看？清算热图就是一个网站呀。清算热图的话就是在这儿，这个网站你看一下，叫 Coin Inc。哎，不是这个 Coin Inc。好，我也发到咱们这个聊天区了啊。热图怎么分析啊？热图在这个地方，你打开这个网站之后呢，它会告诉你怎么去看这个热图啊。上面这个颜色越深越亮，说明做空的人越多，那主力资金呢就越有可能往上去冲，把它给干掉。那我们看到在这个地方啊，举个例子啊，那么这是在昨天下午4点15分的时候，那本来是反弹的好好的，对吧？在这个上方4点钟整点的时候，川普签署了总统的行政令啊。然后呢，比特币的战略储备总统行政令签完之后，但是大家发现他没有说拿出来钱去买比特币，所以说这个预期落空开始往下砸说是预期落空往下砸，但是我们看到在这个地方直接有加起来累积起来应该有10亿左右的一个多单 在这个地方，主力资金就是趁着这个预期落空的这个时间节口，直接往下砸到8万4，砸到8万4。其实我们看到这一波就收割了大概有15亿到20亿的这个多单，明白了吧？那么我们今天这个情况啊，等一下我如果说啊，我想如果我大胆猜测一下啊，等一下应该会通过某一个记者或者是某一个人上厕所的一个空间发一条推文，说刚刚啊我们在闭门会议上讲了什么什么事情，一根针上去，把上方如果说我没估计错的话，应该在20亿左右的这个空单啊，一根针上去，好吧？那这就是主力资金会这么干啊。那如果说这个加上这个周末了，马上这是ETF 也下班了，对吧？华尔街下班了，然后呢流动性又开始变差了，那这个时候呢，合约的庄家就开始来做孽了啊，就是上下插针。那我们看到下方没有什么东西啊，往上插针的这个收益率啊会比较高啊，用很少量的资金就可以拉盘，拉完盘之后把这20-30亿收割完之后，那拿了钱之后再说其他的。那这个合约的庄家太牛逼了。好的，那我们这样子啊，为什么你的比特币跟我的 OKX 交易所的价格不一样啊？有吗？我这边也是 OKX 的啊，你可能这个是这样子的啊，直播的时候它有一个延迟啊，大概有个20秒、30秒的延时啊，应该是这个原因啊。好的，非常感谢大家啊，今天咱们这个直播呢，应该也是我这最近几年以来的一个观看量最多的一次直播了啊，然后呢，再一次恳求大家点赞一下啊，订阅一波啊。那咱们这个频道呢，我只要有时间呢，我都会每天会做视频跟大家见面啊。那也是这个能尽量去做到一个日更吧。那我还有另外一个频道，你去看我的主页的话，我还有另外一个频道区块链日报，是每天早上啊，我这里的时间每天早上7点钟，东八区晚上的10点，现在是11点，那马上就是夏令时了，就是10点了，东八区晚上10点钟准时更新的一个日更的频道，好吧？那么我在 B 站呢也会同步更新，但是有的时候 B 站呢会过审不了，所以说这个 YouTube 上面会是最全的啊。好，非常感谢大家啊，感谢大家的订阅啊。区块链日报不是 Derek 吗？不是，我是简体的区块链日报，它是繁体的，不一样。它是周一到周五更新，我是周一到周日更新啊，我是7天的啊。我们两个不一样啊，不一样。我讲的内容跟他讲的内容也不一样，我们两个的理念也完全不一样。那么我是比特币最大主义者，那其他的博主可能是每个人都会有一个自己喜欢的币种啊。那我是不喜欢爱达币的，他很喜欢爱达币，好吧？区别在这个地方。OK， 好，那我们今天先这样了啊，非常感谢大家的收看啊，有链接能看到，谢谢大家啊。